Okay, and the other thing I just wanted to mention, y'all guys know that we're up against the November election that will be coming up November the 7th, okay? We have not, because the state board has actually been dealing with the other counties that has elections for September and October. There's some of the counties in North Carolina that do have elections in September and October.
Charlotte just had theirs Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're trying to get over the hump of the counties that's had the elections for September and October 1st. We will soon be getting some of our information from the state for our ballots for the municipal election for November. Once we get our proofs, then it goes through a chain of command of proofing here, proofing at the state. It comes back and forth about 3 or 4 times before the final printer, which is Print-Elect, gets the ballots and prints them and sends them to us. Now we're supposed to be having ballots available to send out by mail absentee by the 10th of October, I believe it is, if you look on our calendar. But now that might be, the state is saying it might be a little bit later. Once I get the ballots, then it'll be the same thing as we've done in the past. My guys will be coming in. They will be doing the LNA, the logic and accuracy on the machines, running the ballots through, making sure that the ballots are reading properly. I do want to mention this to y'all guys. You know, I have used up to 4 of machine technicians before. Y'all do know that Bobby Kinlaw has helped me in the past doing that. Bobby will not be able to do that this time because Bobby is running for town council for the town of Elizabethtown. So he won't be allowed to work on and test the machines for that reason. So I will be using Mark McMichael, which has helped us before, and Jeff Guyton, which has helped us before.
From my understanding, is that a company, are these independent, are you working with independent persons?
Yes, they just contract with me, which they've done in the past, but they're familiar with the machines as far as knowing how the machines operate and that type of stuff.
But again, what I'm trying to understand, if it's one company and these are 4 employees, that's one situation. If you have independent contracts with each of these, who coordinates what they do? How do they, are their contracts different, or are they all doing the same kinds of things?
They're doing the same things. The contract is through the county. They we have a contract that they sign off on where they're doing the contract work for us, but we pay them as contractors. But they're both doing the same thing. But they're independent people that's been trained on these machines.
Same as Bobby Kinlaw was.
Okay, outside of this
Same deal,
session,
yeah.
I need to get with you. I'd like to see those contracts and understand how that's working.
Okay.
Because of my own background in governmental contracts with the federal government. I'd like to just see that.
Okay.
Okay, while I'm thinking about it, I need to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
How many municipalities have opted out of early voting?
We only have 2 this time.
Okay.
Which is East Arcadia and Tar Heel.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Dublin opted out last time, but they are not opting out this time because they have a beer and wine referendum on their ballot.
Yeah.
And they want everybody to be able to be allowed to vote by one stop or mail absentee or whatever. By law, when a county opts out, or not a county, when a town opts out, and I think y'all know this, of one stop, they have to opt out of mail absentee.
Right.
Because both of those are
Both are
hand
the
in
same,
hand.
yeah.
They're a form of absentee. So therefore, the only option for the people in Tar Heel and for the people in East Arcadia to vote for this November 7th
Go
election
to the polls
will
on
be on
election.
election day.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
that's fair.
I knew Tar Heel adopted out, but I didn't know about East Arcadia. Okay, let's go to item C. If we're, update board of immediate release from Patrick Gannon dated September 6, 2017. Reference State Board response to Election Integrity Commission. And we got that in there. I got an email on that and I understand that. Does anybody have any questions on that?
No.
Okay. Update
For,
board.
for the record though, Bobby, can you just talk a little bit about what that is?
Oh, the federal-
Someone listening to that tape won't know what that is.
Okay. The federal elections,
Commission.
commission that Trump appointed has asked all the states for as much registration information as they can get.
Okay,
And some of the things that most states have refused is things like social security account numbers and ages, I think, was one of them.
Yes, sir.
And that North Carolina opted out on. But they gave them most of the information they wanted,
okay.
okay?
I think it was called an integrity commission, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Integrity Commission request, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Item D, update board and candidates list.
This list right here, guys, I'm just giving to you, so in case anyone calls you as a board member, you will have this
Okay.
information in front of you. This is a list of the people that has filed for candidacy for the November 7th election.
Town of Blackmore's got to split up a pretty small vote count between three candidates, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some opposition for the mayor of Bladenboro,
Yeah.
some opposition for the town council there. We have some opposition in Clarkton.
As far as.
Someone asked me down there at Fun Day last Saturday if we would have a runoff for mayor in Blackmore. I said, no, we don't do that.
No, this is simple plurality.
Yeah.
So we don't, there's, in the municipal elections, there's not, it's, I mean, and I know you recall, Mr. Bobby, you had to flip the coin for
Yeah.
Clarkton that time. So,
I told
No,
a
my
couple of candidates from Clarkton that I had the coin ready again. Linda Gaskins being one of them.
I know.
As far as candidate filings, that period has closed now,
Okay.
so this is it.
That's it.
That's it, yeah.
But now, do remember, y'all, that there is write-ins available,
Right.
because, you know, we've had that situation
We
before.
have to have one at
Election day.
Tar Heel, don't we?
Mhm.
Yeah.
For election day,
Mhm.
okay.
There, we didn't have a full slated,
We don't have a full slate at Tar Heel this time, do
no.
we? Yeah.
There's one more seat available for town council in Tar Heel, but we only had 2 to file.
So,
Is there somebody that's gonna be a write-in candidate? I heard that.
I do not
they
know.
probably will be. There has been in the past.
I heard that.
Tar Heel is always doing this.
We had to extend the filing period last year. No one filed the first go around. We extended it,
Yeah,
y'all
yeah.
probably remember, extended it for 5 more days. We finally got 2 people to file. Still didn't have a full slate.
Hmm.
And,
We got it right in.
but we got a write-in.
And if I remember right, it was only about 3 votes, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the guy that was gonna file, that was already seated, couldn't come and file because he was out of town. But he just got out and worked it and launched a write-in, so he went in anyway.
What is the responsibility of the board in making sure that candidates and municipalities file? Are we just being helpful? It would seem.
Yeah, we're just here to run the election for the municipality.
Yeah, not the municipality, so we really don't care whether there's,
That's right,
yeah, okay.
No.
that's right.
What, so what?
I mean, in the past, many years ago when things were a little different than they are now, the municipalities conducted their own elections. Tar Heel was one of the last ones, I believe, to allow the Board of Elections to conduct their elections.
Yeah.
But the election process got to be too complicated to the fact that
Oh,
they
okay.
couldn't handle it anymore. So we conduct the elections, we do it like the town wants them to do it.
Okay,
That's just,
we have the machinery and the skill sets and all that to do, okay.
Okay, let's move on to actions and plans. List of chief judges and judges from Democratic Chairman Ben Snyder for review. Okay,
guys, I just wanted, and Ben's of course with us today, I wanted, you've got his list here. What I tried to do was give you another list that says it's the November 8th, 2016 general election. It's the people that we used for November, which is not all of our people.
right,
It's just the people we happen to use for that election. And also there's one single sheet that is the poll workers that we had for the last municipal election, which was 2015. And I think y'all guys remember in our last conference that we went to, one of the things that was brought up, and one of the things that we have tried to do in the past was making sure that our chief judge was the party of the seated governor. That is not law.
no, it's not anymore.
It's not law. It was good practice. That came about whenever Alex Brock was the executive director in Raleigh. And a lot of the boards of elections followed that best practice law, but it doesn't really stand. So in other words, our chief judges and judges don't have to be the same party as a seated governor.
Experience is more important than party affiliation. Well, the
But,
chief judge is not there to do any political work. They're just there to run the,
Show, yeah.
but there is statute that guides the mixture.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
To me, the first question is, even beyond experience, is, are we meeting the requirements of the law? That's the first one that we need to determine.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
if not, why not? And how do we come into compliance? Because that's the first one. With the list that you have, is it in compliance with the requirements of the law with respect to party affiliations?
Yes, if you look on the list for 2016, we have tried our very best to use Democrat, Republican. We've also tried to, we've tried to have, the mixture as far as race is concerned. Now, Mr. Al, there are some situations in some of these precincts where we don't have but so many names to pick from. So you might have, one or two more Republicans than you do Democrats or something to that nature.
But I hear what you're saying, but there are rarely acceptable excuses in any, I'm not on board, but there are rarely acceptable excuses for violating law. okay? Violation of law should be something that is extenuating, and if you know you're out of compliance, there's an obligation to do whatever it takes to come into compliance with law. My point is, I would like to know, like the board, it's our responsibility, to know the extent to which we're out of compliance and what we're doing to bring it into compliance. Because if we, if we're out of compliance last year, we're out of compliance this year, if we don't do something other than what we've done, we'll be out of compliance next cycle.
But
We're
as
not
far
out
as,
of
to my
compliance.
knowledge, we've never been out of compliance.
Well, okay, then
What?
let's, I came in with several questions, and let's talk about them. How are precinct workers chosen?
Precinct workers are
May
chosen.
I staff, we're looking after staff, we're a board. Staff puts that
Understand
together.
that, okay.
Okay. But this is what I'm asking. How are precinct workers chosen? My next question is, how are judges chosen? Next question, how are chief judges chosen? Next question, how are they trained and advanced? And finally, are all of our reference and our master list of judges, chiefs, and workers current? Now, the reason I'm asking these questions is because I have read the law. I went back through and read the law, the statute, and its requirements. I don't know the answer that I have not had time to go through these. That's why I came up today to get copies of all the materials. But even at today's session, I'm reluctant, I'll put it that way, I'm reluctant to give any approval to any list unless I know the extent to which we're in compliance with statute, or the extent to which we're out of compliance. And then if we're out, we're obligated to come up with some plan of fixing that.
Okay. First off, I do not know that we're out of compliance in any way as far as the law is concerned. I don't try to do anything without keeping y'all guys abreast on what's going on as far as chief judges and judges. Every 2 years, the Democrat chairman and Republican chairman of the counties submits to our board, which Mr. Ben has done here, the name of two chief judges and 2 judges. That by law, they can do that. If they don't have to, then they don't submit to. Mr. Ben has submitted this list from the Republican Party, Democrat Party, to us. That's what their party has come up with. We've stamped, it was delivered, it's stamped in a timely manner. The Republican chairman, which was Walter McDuffie, submitted nothing. We got nothing from the Republican Party on chief judges and judges. So the people that Mr. Ben has submitted is people that they're saying that they would like possibly to work at the polling locations, and this has to be approved by the board if this is y'all's wishes to use any of these people. But let me just further try to answer your last question about training. We have poll working training. Once this is done, just say it's done today. Once this is approved and we get the people in place, then we will have a swearing in. These people, whether they're the older ones or the newer ones, will be sworn in for a 2-year term. Once they're done, sworn in for a 2-year term, then when it's time for elections to come about, I have several trainings. We might break it up into so many precincts, you know, and then we of course have the training before the election day anyway. So that's actually the way that it's been handled.
That's, okay, I understand what you have said, but there are two aspects of training. I'm not talking about just the board, I'm talking about period. One of it is training at different levels, so-called horizontal training. You train your new folk to come in so they can do the job at that level. Usually to replace those in the supervisor or manager, those going up, there is hierarchical or vertical training to move up from the bottom up, move them up. So training has two, and that's really the context of my question is, how do we move folk up? If as chief judges, or even judges, if we're out of whack and not in compliance with legal requirements, why not? Is it a function? I'm not saying that for you to answer here. And I really don't see it as your responsibility. I see that as the board's responsibility. That's the law. So what I want to know is the extent to which we are out of compliance with the requirements of statute, what statutory requirements are, and the extent to which, and again, it's the board's responsibility if it's out of whack, not yours. That's my point. And if it's out of whack, then the board needs to describe a plan for getting it into compliance.
Well, I don't know what else to say, Mr. Allen, other than the fact that personally, I do not think we've ever been out of compliance. But now, that's entirely, I mean.
When you say out of compliance, are you referring to the statute that's outlined in Article 5, precinct election officials at 163.41?
I don't have my law book in front of me right now, but I
Okay.
can certainly get it, and or I can read it and.
Right, but that's the compliance that I'm talking about.
Right.
And,
It's in here.
and I'm not sure, but I'm not even going to ask you to sit in this meeting and do that. If we need to do that, I'm okay with let's not finalizing any selection this time. Let's take the time and apply that law, and we'll come back with so we'll know what to fix, if anything needs to be fixed.
Okay. The only thing that I can say to y'all guys at this point is this has been delayed for quite some time now because of not having a full board. I have an election to conduct in November, and I've got to have my people in place. Because, and some of these people that he has submitted could be people that we might need to use or whatever, or otherwise I am going to have to fall back on which the state has told us that the ones that have taken an oath in the past for a 2-year term are still seated until new board members, whether the new poll workers are selected along with some of the ones that's already seated or what. I mean, I just, I got to have people out there to work my polls. So.
Your polls are also this board's polls.
I understand
They're one
that.
and the same set of polls.
I understand.
Okay. We have got to have experienced chief judges at the polls that are going to be open in November. I will not approve anybody that has not worked the polls before as a chief judge.
Now, similarly, I will not approve anybody to work unless or until I know the extent of our compliance.
Well, the compliance
The
is,
compliance
the
is
first thing is that these-
training.
Look, compliance with statute, not tradition.
well, Mr. Al, only thing I can say is the first thing that we got to do, first thing that's got to happen, the board has got to approve some names, and then we have to go through the
training.
training process, and then we have to contact the people to see if they're gonna work.
I understand that general process. The names that have been presented to us by the party, first and most basic, isn't it the board's obligation to choose from lists that are submitted by the party chairs?
If they meet basic requirements.
Do you
As
know,
far as
do you know what those basic requirements are?
those basic requirements are, experience is the number one. Okay?
Well, right here in the statute, it says what the requirements are.
Yeah.
Persons appointed to the offices to be registered voters and residents of the county in which the precinct is located, of good repute, and able to read and write.
Mm-hmm.
That is the extent of the statutory requirements for being chief judge. That's all I'm saying.
And we
But
certainly.
the board can select other people for that job. It's our job to approve that list.
I think you ought to read that law, Bonnie.
Yeah.
I think you ought to read that law. If you want me to read it, I will.
Yeah.
I've researched it very carefully. I don't think this is a discussion you might want to have in front of what's going on or not, but the problem you got is your master list has 4 Democrats who have qualified as chief judge. 3 of those Democrats weren't chief judge last time. So you have 1 Democrat, really, that under the guidelines you're talking about, would be eligible to be a chief judge. And you've got 19 Republicans.
So I'm
who
not
are eligible
saying,
to chief judge.
I'm not saying that the person has to have been chief judge before.
Okay, good.
I'm saying that it makes just common sense that they were a judge in the past, not necessarily chief judge, but they need some experience.
Right, I think I can agree with that.
Okay.
But
I certainly hope so.
well, but what I'm saying is, most of the people
Uh-huh.
who have been nominated by me for chief judge have been judges.
Okay, I don't have a problem with those people, but if you've nominated one that has never worked post before, you understand where I'm coming from?
Exactly,
Yeah, okay.
exactly. And like I said, we can talk about all that informally, or if
Right.
you want, and if this would help you, I'm willing to go see Mr. McDuffie and ask, and see if we can work something out.
I don't
Unless
think
that
it's,
would interfere with you guys.
Yeah. Well, one thing, we're getting close to having to do some things.
Absolutely.
To make decisions, and we can't, the court system's had us stagnated now for what, 8 months?
On
Yeah.
time.
And we need to move forward as quick as we possibly can. If you think you can get with Walter and come up with a list,
I'm willing to, but if you want to do this fast, you're going to have to apply the law to my list.
well, I don't know that he can still submit names at this point.
Well, he can't, but I'm willing to talk to him about names he might want to submit. if
And
that would
I
help you
don't,
out.
I could care less, it don't make any difference to me. who the board, if they want to approve every one of yours you've submitted, I don't care. I just got to have people to work. Because we got an election coming up and I've got to get this in place to be able to move forward.
I understand you have your role, the party chairs have their role, you have yours, and the board has its. They're three different separate things, okay, that must be integrated for the system to work. From the board's perspective, from my perspective as a board member, we sort of have the cart before the horse here. I'm looking at two lists. One of them appears to be a traditional list based on past poll experience. The other is a list advanced by the
Democratic chair for the
by the
county.
chair,
Yep.
recommending names on here that I think should be integrated into a list. When they're coming for this board, shouldn't we be approving the judges and their positions? And shouldn't these names, if any, the Democrat names along with these others, be integrated into a new list?
Absolutely, Mr.
Absolutely.
Al. Once y'all approve, whatever y'all gonna approve, a new list will be done. These names will be incorporated into whatever list, and y'all will get a new list.
When is that supposed to happen?
When y'all decide what you're gonna do.
So we can use this session to receive this information
Yes, yes, that's what this is for.
and work on the list, or delegate that staff to work on the list, and approve an integrated list after it has been done. But it seems to me the list that comes in should have, it should be all of the workers of the poll. We do that, all of the judges at one time, not approving a Democratic list, nor approving a Republican list, but making sure that the integrated list that should be integrated by the staff, that list is in compliance with statute.
And I can do that, Mr. Al, but I cannot integrate these people into this list until they take a an oath for a 2-year term. And this has to be approved by the board.
You can do a list based on these folk qualifications, and the training goes on after approval, doesn't it?
The training goes on after the approval of the board. What we have to do, we have to make sure every one of these people are registered voters to be able to work at the polls for Bladen County. We have already looked all these up.
They're all good, right?
They're good. We got one or two that's in question, but we're good. Now, I know that Mr. Ben said what he said about read and write. I have no idea whether all these people can read and write.
I asked that question to everybody I called.
Ben, let me ask you a question. On the ones here where you got 2 listed for chief judge, does that mean we can use either one of those?
Yeah, the law, what the law says is that, the law presumes, okay, that both parties are gonna submit names. And so the law is pretty strict on, you're not supposed to choose anybody that's really not in one of those lists, okay?
Right.
And that's a stickler. And that's why I offered to try to talk to Mr. McDuffie about this. But if you guys want to go on without talking to him, or me talking to him, that's fine with me. But you're stuck with the law, which pretty much says you have to pick these people. Now, I don't want you to pick all these people. I have vetted them myself and think I could come up with the best of the picks of the bunch. And if you have somebody who you think is better than that, and I'll change my mind if they're that much better. But I've talked to these people, and I've tried to present a list. There are a few people on the list who, for chief judge, that I just put in there at that precinct. I really want them to be assistants at some point, hopefully now, because they're very smart and they're young and they want to get involved. And so
Well, that's-
they would make great chief judges, but not at this time.
Understand, that's what I mean when I talk about experience.
Yes, yes.
I firmly believe in growing people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's good for both parties.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you folks something else. I contacted the Libertarian Party because according to statute, they're eligible to submit people in this kind of fashion. They don't have very many here in Bladen County, I don't think.
That's true.
But in some of the larger counties, they might. They haven't called me back, but, so I think we can work something out. If the board wants to work with me on it, and Cynthia with us, I think we can work something out. If not, then we'll have to do whatever.
From a board member's perspective, and I have not gone back, and if it's not in the duties that we've delegated, we certainly can. But it seems to me that this list that was, these candidates from this list for the suggested role, that the staff would do whatever vetting that they need to as his suggested ones. And what the list that would come, and if not, if the party is suggesting names and we say not, why not? Okay? Then there's an explanation of why the staff would advance to the board a complete staffing plan that would have that for everybody on there, if the party came in and said, well, I wanted that one, why not? We can tell them why that person was not accepted.
That's up to the board, Mr. Al.
Let's consider this. We're up against a pretty strict deadline now. We've only got to man how many polls in November?
7.
7 out of 17.